Do narcissists know what they're doing, and can they heal and change their behavior? I want to share this story with you about years ago when a narcissist came forward to me for healing. And back then I was really new in this super tool, Quanta Freedom Healing. I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and beyond inspired. I thought I could help heal the world and I could heal narcissists. So I took him on as a client. And immediately upon meeting him and sharing information, he said to me that he'd had some shocking things happen in his life. His wife had left him. He'd lost his businesses. He'd lost money. His kids had turned his back on him. Everything had gone wrong and crashed. And I already knew from my own experiences and also other people that I'd helped heal that narcissists in our lives, if they've had enough disappointment and enough trauma, there is a window of opportunity where the false self is not erected. It's not in position as a defense mechanism, because it takes a huge amount of energy to hold up a false self. Being authentic is the easiest way for us to be once we get comfortable with that. So this narcissist without defenses was very honest and open. And as I did healing sessions with him, I found it incredibly enlightening in regard to narcissists, how his brain worked and the things that he'd done to his wife. So there was things like she had a cat that adored her and she loved the cat. And the cat kind of snobbed him off and didn't give him narcissistic supply. And one day when she was out, he took the cat and gave it away to somebody else without her knowing and pretended that the cat went missing. And also too, there were things like if he got home from work and if she didn't drop everything and greet him at the door and give him the attention that his false self demanded, he would create an argument, go out the door and go and see a lover that he would have sex with behind her back to punish her for not giving him enough attention. It was so fascinating in this time of narcissistic injury when he was open and honest. He wasn't delusional, which is what the false self is. He was being real. And he explained that he knew he did the wrong thing. And he also explained that he didn't have a conscience about it. He was disturbed about getting caught out and her trying to hold him accountable, but he didn't believe that he was doing the wrong thing. Conceptually, he knew it was wrong, but it didn't feel wrong. And the reason it didn't feel wrong was because that was his survival mechanism. That was his defense mechanisms. So what that meant was he was constantly trying to keep himself safe from his inner critic, his unhealed inner being, which was criticism and self-loathing and feelings of inadequacy and dire insecurities and low self-esteem, which is what narcissists are. And that meant that he had that hairline trigger from her, and of course it would have been other people as well, which was reflecting back to him that he was unworthy, insignificant, that he was being rejected, that the false self wasn't getting the acclaim and the attention that it needed to sustain itself. So his reactions of revenge and being nasty and eliminating the cat and playing up with a lover to vindicate himself, to not feel unworthy of her attention, he completely in truthful honesty could admit that he knew it was wrong, but to him it wasn't wrong because that was what he had to do to try to survive his own feelings. Now, what was interesting was when we tried to get under that, to get to the wounding of why he was like that, which is original traumas, because he'd come from a family of deep neglect and abuse, and therefore created a false self as his buffer to exist through. going in to try to go to those wounds, for him to, first of all, admit to them, to be able to feel them, hold them, load them up and let them go, the defenses were absolutely huge. And it didn't take long before he discredited the sessions and ran away, because I was getting too close to why he was like that. So narcissists do know what they do. They're amoral. They know what they do, but they do it to survive, and they do it to get the payoff, and they do it to regulate their shocking internal feelings about themselves, to be able to offset them. So therefore, to them, it's a necessary thing to do. And the defenses are so massive that to actually go in to embrace and hold and load up and let go of the original traumas that did split them, that made them disassociate from their inner being, self-divorce it, and cover it over with a false fictitious self, the delusional egoic self. To let go of the delusional egoic self to a narcissist feels like they're going to die. So what I would say to you is, you really need to understand, to try to heal these people, when you've had somebody who massively pathologically lies, who's malicious, who's vengeful, who does nasty, shocking things, who will throw you under a bus, who when you're down will stomp all over your head and be cruel, all of the things. And if you're not sure of these things, Google my name and am I with a narcissist? And there's a huge big checklist, because there is a big difference between people who act narcissistically because they're triggered into unhealed wounds and their defenses come out, and they can be nasty and childish, but yet at their core, they are a good person, they've got a conscience, and there is a true operating self in there who may have glitches in some areas, but fundamentally is a decent human being. Really what we're talking about with narcissistic personality disorder is you have a person who's delusional, they're living in a fantasy land, they absolutely have to be superior, so therefore they have got to push you down, they've got to be the center of attention, they have to have control over you. And they are capable of doing things that will absolutely shock you, stun you. And a lot of people, when they break up with a narcissist and they start to see the real demon, and information comes to the surface and they discover things that have happened or that person's done that just nearly destroy you, because you can't even imagine that somebody has got the capacity to operate in those ways and do things that you could never even imagine doing, let alone carry out. And I know that when, I did a few sessions with him, I literally felt like I'd been sludged. I had to do so much healing on myself to get that sludge out of my energy field. And I never worked with a narcissist again because I really realized what I was dealing with. So I hope that this is insightful for you guys. All right, lots of love. Bye-bye.